Andy Klaff here in Norfolk with the new manager of the Norfolk Tides, Tim Federowicz. Tim, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yep, absolutely.
Obviously, first new role with the new organization. What are your first impressions?
It's been great, and I love the organization. You know, it's beautiful up here in Norfolk. A little hot this week, but for the most part, it's been great, and I'm enjoying it.
It is definitely a lot hot this week, so hopefully you guys can make it through unscathed for this week. But so a big part of this organization, at least over the last few years with this farm system, was that it was the #1 farm system for many years. Was that part of the appeal to come to this organization at all?
Yeah, I mean, as an outsider looking into this organization, I always loved how they developed like young prospects and hitters, and they've always kind of hit as an organization. So I was kind of intrigued at that point, and just being able to get here and dive into everything has been really cool.
Have you noticed any specific differences with the way that this farm system operates in terms of prioritizing development that's different from previous organizations?
I mean, there's a lot of similarities in some of the organizations. I think what they do really well here is kind of they mix it up. You know, you don't get the normal drills. You get a lot more work in the cages and on the field. You know, do more of like a mixed BP and a little bit more targeted practice. Not saying some other organizations don't do that. I just think it's a little more here, and it's been fun.
What specifically, does it feel like a lot more gritty? You mentioned just different and getting out there a little bit more.
I think just from top to bottom, you get guys up here that are willing to work and they want to work. You know, I think sometimes the AAA level kind of gets tagged as kind of getting their reps in, you know, just trying to stay ready, where it's just more of a development stance here in this organization. And everybody you come up, whether it's the veteran guys or the younger guys that are coming up, like they're ready to work and they want to work, which is really cool.
You yourself also have a very lengthy career and history as a professional baseball player, so does that help for you to be able to interact and understand where these guys are in their career right now?
Yeah, especially at this level. You know, I spent a lot of time up and down. You know, I had a lot of DFAs, a lot of options, you know, so I've kind of done it all at this level, and it's pretty cool to kind of help the guys through little things that they might be going through, because I've probably done it all. I mean, I was a big prospect coming up, you know, and then towards the end of my career I was the old veteran guy, so I've kind of experienced it all, and it feels cool to be able to help the players when they need it.
So moving forward with that too, Heston Kjerstad is obviously one of those guys right now that's going through a situation like that. How have you kind of been there for him, and has he expressed anything to you in terms of that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's just helping him understand that that a change is needed. You know, he had a pretty good stretch up there, and you know, coming back, like he knows that he needs to get to work, and he knows he needs to make some adjustments. So just trying to help him manage that, help our hitting coach where I can, just with the messaging and making sure that he's bought in, and he's been great with it.
What specifically have you guys and the hitting coaches specifically taken from his stint, at least this year, in the big leagues, and focusing now on kind of improving it here?
I think it's still early, but just getting him in a better position to hit. You know, like kind of leveling out his shoulders a little bit as he strides. Kind of just working through some stances, and that's kind of the main thing right now. Is he's just kind of tinkering with a couple different things to find something that feels right and feels a little bit more comfortable. And it's just going to take time. You know, you got to be patient with these types of things, and he understands that.
Yeah, and development definitely is a patient kind of thing, and we're seeing that right now also with Samuel Basallo. Tony Mansolino, when he was asked if Basallo was going to be the next catcher called up, said that he really wants him to focus on development and be knocking the door down here in the minor leagues before doing that. What would you say his reasoning behind that was? Do you think there's specific things that he's alluding to that Basallo needs to work on, or what do you see from Basallo that will push him the next step?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to look at his career, look at his numbers, and just be like, this guy's ready. But you got to remember he's 20 years old. And not only that, but he's a catcher, which there's a lot heavier workload on catchers. When you have to manage the pitching staff, you have to manage the players out on the field. You're kind of the leader back there, and that just takes time. It takes reps, and he's going to have to get those reps behind the plate down here just until he gets to a point where he can execute a game plan, you know, help pitchers through their struggles mid-game, and just kind of be that leader on the field.
With your background in catching, what has that relationship been like with you with Basallo?
It's been great. You know, he's a fast learner. I mean, ever since spring training, when I first started talking to him about some of his catching and receiving stuff, he was very receptive, and he kind of took to it pretty quickly, which is awesome. So now we've kind of moved a little bit more into like the game calling and the managing of the game, and making sure he stays locked in, even if he's not hitting. It's just all stuff that he needs to learn as he gets older and prepares himself for the big leagues.
A lot of development to go on the defensive side of things. His bat is no joke, and there's some serious damage done there when he makes contact, but that's when he makes contact. Is there some question marks for you guys there with swing decisions?
Yeah, I mean, he's better when he's more aggressive. So it's a fine line of like trying to get him to make good swing decisions and trying to get him to make quality contact. the reason he's the hitter he is and he hits for power and he hits the ball hard is because he's ready to hit every single pitch. So I think it's the same thing where he just needs to get reps of like being ready to hit, keeping that aggression and keeping that swing going no matter where the pitch is. And I mean, he's going to swing at balls. It's going to happen, and it might get a little bit higher once he gets to the big leagues. But I think the more that he refines it and stays in that aggressive mode, I think the better he is. Because when he takes those at bats, when he's a little bit more passive, there's just nothing behind it.
Is it kind of wild to see a player like that at this age just be so mature on and off the field for you?
Yeah, no, he's been great. I've been very impressed so far. Obviously, he had a little bit of a setback early on with the IL stints, but ever since he's been back, he's been great, and he's been fun to put in the lineup.
Someone else who's also been looking really good and has avoided the injured list as of late is Dylan Beavers. He's looked really great offensively and defensively. What have you seen from him?
He's been great. You know, he got off to a really rough start. You know, he was grinding a little bit, but credit to him. I mean, he kept going, and he's made little minor adjustments that he needed to, and now he's been one of our best hitters for a couple months now. So he's been great.
What were those minor adjustments?
I think he has a tendency to just stay back a little bit more, trying to see the ball rather than just being aggressive, you know, like making his move towards the pitcher rather than kind of hang back. And ever since he's done that, he's been hitting the ball harder. You know, he makes great swing decisions. Like he's on base a lot and he's fast, so he's a great guy to have at the top of the lineup.
You got a chance early on in the season to work with Kobe Mayo. Obviously, he's had his opportunity right now with some injuries up in the big league level. What did you see from him when he was down here, and have you been able to pay attention to him getting a little bit more comfortable in the big leagues right now?
Yeah, I mean, Kobe was great. I mean, he obviously is a struggle for him coming back down, I think, for the third year. I mean, it's tough for any player in that position, but he did a great job handling it. You know, he got right back to work. You know, he's making steady progress. It's just the injuries kind of had him going up and down quite a bit, which is tough to maintain. So I think if he gets an extended time up there and he gets some more regular at-bats in the big leagues, I think he should turn it around.
The last question I'll ask you, are there any players that don't necessarily get a lot of attention that you feel maybe should be getting the attention that they deserve or will be in due time?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple guys. Judd Fabian's one that he's a big prospect here. He's been doing well. He's a great outfielder. He's working through some stuff offensively, but if he gets it going, like he's got a lot of power, and he can put up some pretty crazy numbers here. So hopefully he can get it going. VML Machine has been a great great leader for especially our Latin players like Basallo. You know, having him in the locker room and in the lineup every day, like he goes out there, he makes good contact. He's been one of our better hitters as well. So those two popped to mind.
Awesome. Thank you so much.